What is up, guys? My name is Blessing Kumbo. Welcome to another episode of BSc Chronicles. I am currently an honors student at the Neuroscience Institute. So attention deficit hyperactivity disorder, or ADHD, it's a common neurodevelopmental disorder that is highly prevalent in children and adolescents, and also most adults have it. So it can affect many areas of life, from work and school to relationships and even daily routines. It has symptoms such as impulsivity, inattentiveness, and or hyperactivity. So to continue from our first part, I'm going to focus on Mo. So what challenges have you faced in academia due to you having ADHD?
Yeah, thanks, Blessing. That's a really good question. I think it's my journey, because I didn't get diagnosed in school, was quite difficult coming to university. So one of the issues that I think a lot of students at UCT, or generally university students who are undiagnosed, might face is that we tend to slip under the radar during school, because generally we're quite smart and we get our work done. But in that process, we're always just scraping by. So I, throughout my high school, had never studied for a test until matric. Matric was the first time I was like, maybe I should probably study. This seems important. As a result, we get to university without actual coping skills for how to be a student. And I completely messed up my first year at UCT. And I mean, that I put a lot of that down to ADHD struggles and also a little bit of bad decision making, but those often go hand in hand. So I think through undergrad I struggled a lot with getting to campus on time. So I'd miss all my 8 a.m. lectures, not realizing that that's part of an ADHD cycle of struggling to get moving in the morning. I would also struggle with concentrating in class. That's really difficult. And then I could never bring myself to actually studying and actually making study notes and doing that in enough time before an exam to be fully prepared. So throughout my undergrad, I was always studying the night before, and I didn't write a single exam, I don't think, without pulling an all-nighter. So I think those sort of things that you don't realize you're doing until you're diagnosed really makes undergraduate studies difficult. And I only fully got diagnosed once I was in my master's program. And that has a whole different set of challenges. So undergrad, you kind of are always under pressure, and you've got deadlines, and you're always trying to make those deadlines. In postgrad, you have no deadlines, and you're meant to just work by yourself. And that's difficult at a whole nother level, because it's completely unstructured. On a day-to-day basis, I think I struggled with things like not being able to read. I know that sounds really strange to say as someone in academia, but I really struggled with being able to read. It's something that a lot of ADHD people struggle to do, both for work and for fun. I would often have to read like the same paragraph 3 times, because each time my brain would kind of zone out and I'd forget to concentrate. So it does come with a number of obstacles that I think make studying harder, and especially if you're undiagnosed and you don't know what you're doing is ADHD, then it becomes harder to manage. The second I was diagnosed, a lot of those things became easier to manage, because I knew what was driving the behavior, and that makes it a little bit easier. And then the medication for ADHD really does help with that. So I think for anyone out there, like, who's potentially struggling with similar things, concentration, sitting down to study, being able to read, it might be worthwhile like taking one of these online ADHD tests, just as a preliminary insight into how your brain might be working, and then obviously try to get diagnosed
for more diagnosis. So, okay, thank you so much. Savannah, so have you ever experienced any stigma, and also how did you handle it?
I mean, I think that's like, I've never experienced like direct stigma, but I definitely, once I was diagnosed, no, and I guess that's quite lucky, but also I was only recently diagnosed in postgrad. But I think like growing up, I had no idea I had ADHD, but there were definitely things that I did that were different to other people, and like responses. And I don't know if I'd call it stigma, but definitely just like not necessarily like a lack of understanding. So when it would come to like studying for tests, quite different to Mo, and this kind of followed me all through to undergrad. I would study like an absolute demon, and I don't know what it was, if it was like my like perfectionism streak or like my anxiety or OCD or whatever it was, but I would like over prepare and over study and work really, really, really hard, just to kind of catch up to everybody else. And often what would happen, like after a stretch of tests or exams, like I would crash, fully burn out and get sick. And like that was a normal thing in my household. Like my mom always used to say, like, you know, like you'll be like work really hard now and then like, oh, it's normal. Like Savannah gets sick after exams. And like looking back, that is not normal.
Yeah.
And I should not have been working that hard as like a 15-year-old or like even younger, but it was normalized. So in that sense, I don't know, like stigma, never been made fun of, but there was definitely a lack of understanding and a lack of support systems for me. And I think that forms part of the stigma. And I guess what we touched on a little bit last time, this lack of understanding of how ADHD presents itself in women and like, you know, in different people as well. Like just looking at the difference between what Mo's saying now and what I'm saying, like everyone, regardless of who you are, will have a slightly different experience with ADHD. And I think like the more people talk about it, the less you have that lack of understanding. Because I think like whatever you call it, stigma, lack of understanding, it can be quite isolating to feel different. And I definitely did feel that. And only once I got my diagnosis did I feel the validation of like, oh, this all makes a lot of sense now. And like almost gave me some perspective on like why I behaved like a way I did, you know, like I'm not lazy. I'm not like my procrastination is not because I don't care. All of that stuff. Like it's just like there's a reason for all of this, and it allowed me to be a little bit more gentle with myself, I guess. So yeah.
Thank you. That's very insightful.
Thanks.
Ikra, what are the common misconceptions or things that you wish people knew about ADHD?
I feel like for me, one thing that I can think of instantly is that like a lot of people use like my like high functioning sometimes as a means for thinking that like I don't have it. Like that's something that's a common misconception, or that like I'm supposed to look like someone that's like ultimately hyperactive all the time, or just cannot hear you or pay attention, but like, you know, we present as neurotypical a lot of times. Also that like this was like I don't know how to put it, but like when people hear about the symptoms, then they always just be like, oh, but like everyone has it. But then like people with ADHD experience it on a higher level, on like a more severe level, because like people obviously, a lot of people procrastinate and don't have time to study, or like they get excited for things and then they don't realize that like people with ADHD have it like on a really bad level, and then it becomes hyperactivity and attention deficit. So I think that's a misconception that I think happens a lot. And then also it's just that like it's supposed to present the same in men and women and everyone. Like that's something that is a big misconception. And also that like it's only going to affect your attention, or only going to affect your hyperactivity or your ability to study, or like only your schoolwork, but it's like every single aspect of life. So yeah.
Okay. I think that is true, because a lot of, for myself, I never knew like it affects so much of your life. I always thought it's just attention and being like hyperactive and things like that. So the next set of questions, 3 questions, they're addressed to each and every one of you, but short answers, 2 to 3 sentences max. I know it's going to be difficult, but let's start with Ikram. So what message do you have for friends, family, or institutions in how they can better support people with ADHD?
Just because someone is good at something doesn't mean that they don't have ADHD. Just because I was really good at math, I know I was really good at math to my family and friends, like, and I still am. I like to think that. That doesn't mean that like I was studying all the time. I was just really interested in it. For people that are struggling with ADHD, not every medication is going to work for everyone. yeah, just it's trial and error. I had a bad relationship with non-stimulants, and I'm very sensitive to medication. So it took me like 2 years to figure out what works for me. So give it time, give it patience, and be kind to yourself.
Can pass it to Mo and then Seven.
Yeah, I think I'd like to speak to institutions and supervisors and lecturers to start educating yourselves on what ADHD is and how it manifests. I know, for example, you currently can't get an extra time concession for ADHD, which is just ridiculous from the university's perspective. They don't recognize it as something that requires extra time. And there's very little concessions for being able to, let's say, write your exam in a different venue that doesn't have as many distractions. So I think to the institution and to the lecturers to start taking it seriously, because not because we need to be kinder to people or we need to make sure that ADHD people have an opportunity, but it just benefits everyone if you've got different neurotypes in the room. And I think that if with a little bit of leeway and a little bit of kindness and a few concessions, you can get some really incredible students to work in your working groups and to do research with you. And I'd like to think that I'm living proof of that ultimately these different neurotypes all bring something really valuable to the table. And it just means that we need to let go of some of the stigmas and some of the misconceptions and start to understand that people with ADHD just need a little bit of support, and then you've got an excellent researcher. And the truth is, when ADHD person hyper focuses on something and becomes really passionate, they're actually some of the best scientists you can find on that topic.
Yeah.
You said to keep it short, so I'm going to stop there.
To also add to that, I among ADHD, I have many other things, and I am registered with disability services, and I do have extra time. But even with that, there are lecturers that don't believe that it qualifies as a real disability when they see the form on.
You don't believe me?
No.
You don't believe me?
No.
I
don't believe him either.
I won't name drop which lecturers for legal reasons, but I feel like in the science faculty, a lot of times, I mean, it's ironic, but I feel like we don't believe that invisible disabilities are a thing.
And we are all on a spectrum, eh?
Because let's all be real. How many of the faculty and academics in the science faculty are autistic or have ADHD?
Yeah, I'm so sorry.
Vast majority of them.
Yeah, they just don't believe that. And I need a few of them to just, I've had to fight.
It's been a long fight. It's been a long fight, and I just had to have a warrior spirit, and that's all. So I'm just...
I about it a lot of times, so I just, I hop onto that. Even with the accommodations, it's still an issue.
Yeah.
And then what's your take?
So, I mean, the question is, what would I want friends, families, institutions to know, right? So I guess, I mean, everything that Mo and Ikra said, very valid, and I I would say the same things on those topics, but maybe also to say firstly, listen to the person in your life who has ADHD, give them the space to explain to you what it's like for them. Like we've been saying over and over again, it's an individual experience. It's not a universal thing. And it's up to, this goes for literally everything, but if you love someone and they're dealing with someone or something, it's not up to them to educate you. You you got to put in the work to educate yourself. That goes for so much, literally, across mental disorders and all different kinds of systems of oppression and all of that kind of stuff. But just listen to them and do the work yourself. It can be exhausting enough living in a brain with ADHD. You don't always want to have to explain to people what it's like. And then also I'm going to try to say this without sounding like a super boomer, I guess.
Tell it as it is.
I don't know, social media is amazing, and it's such a useful resource for people to connect with information that they otherwise would not have access to. And for me, it's allowed me to resonate with people and be I'm what this person is saying about ADHD, I can relate to that. And it gives people insight into things. We were talking about online quizzes before, and it allows you to identify with things that you otherwise wouldn't have access to. But I also feel as ADHD becomes normalized, the overall experience of it becomes diluted to the point where, like Ikra was saying, a lot of people are relating with symptoms of ADHD, and that doesn't necessarily mean that you have it. It's not like woke to have ADHD, you know? It's not like cool. I mean, it happens with so many other mental disorders. Like people will be like, OMG, like I'm so ADHD, I left my keys at home, or like, OMG, I'm so OCD.
Yeah, OCD is common on social media.
It pisses me off to no end because, sorry, it makes me very upset to no end. Because I have OCD and ADHD, and people are like, oh, I really like to be organized. And I'm like, cool. So like my OCD like won't let me sleep for like a week, but like I'm so happy for you that you like colorful pens to be organized. And it's the same for ADHD. It's like it's debilitating sometimes, and it's not fun or cutesy or quirky or trendy. And I really think that that's something that people also need to understand. Like, you know, I think sometimes people want to be like different. I don't know how to say it. Like I feel like I'm being such a boomer, but like it's mental illnesses aren't funny. They're not a punchline for a joke. Like the people that deal with them every day, like we have to work so much harder to be on the same level as everyone else. And there's a lot of privilege in being neurotypical. And I think people should recognize that as well. You know, like as much as there's privilege in being able-bodied, it's the same thing. It's just an invisible kind of like physical or mental difference. Like it's just, I really wish people would think of that more. And like Mo said, like provide more support for people. Because it's not as like surface level as it's often described as, like as a broad level definition.
It's not a superpower. Like everyone was always like, it's my superpower. It's like makes me whimsy and stuff.
Yeah, it's not whimsical and cutesy. Like guys,
my blood is ruined because of it.
Literally. Like,
I think that is so true. That is so true. So maybe as we move on to the second question, I'll start with Mo. So what tools or strategies would you say they help you in your studies?
Oh my God, I think we need an entire episode on this.
Entire episode for systems.
Maybe the start is to say, for someone who has ADHD, you're going to spend your whole life developing tools, getting them to work for you, and then abandoning them. And I've come to realize that's living, right? Living is trying to be organized and trying to quote unquote have my shit together. And that's just life. So before I would get so mad at myself for not keeping up with the tools and the routines that I've built, and then I'd be like, oh, now I have to start again, and that would like drive me crazy, and that would feed into my depression. I think now I've come to realize that is life as an ADHD person. It's about figuring out what works for you for the next week. And then the week after that, you figure out what's going to work for you. I think the core things that have stayed, or the core principles that have stuck with me are, number one, you have to write everything down. For a long time, I walked around with a little notepad, but I kept losing it and kept losing the pen. So
like 10 notepads.
So now I have a WhatsApp group with just myself in it, and every single thing that's important needs to be written down somewhere. That is the number one thing that's going to prevent you from ruining your life, is write everything down. I have tons of lists when things get really bad and I struggle for routine. I have a daily routine list, which is like, get out of bed, go to the bathroom, brush your teeth. And I know that sounds really rudimentary to the average person, but often when you're stuck in like a functional freeze moment where you just can't do anything, having a list where you're like, cool, I've got these 10 things to do to get my day moving can be really useful. Setting alarms, definitely very helpful.
And timers.
And now as kind of I've moved out of being a student and more into like the professional world, my entire life is governed by my Outlook calendar, and I cannot function without it. And that's really important, because one of the main problems I was encountering was I would just forget about meetings or appointments, and from a professional perspective, that's really bad. It's something you cannot do, is miss meetings. And so now every aspect of my life is in my calendar, and my friends kind of joke around and laugh at me, but I have a it's as bad as I have a friend's booking link. So similar to what the students would use to book an appointment to come and talk to me, I've got one for my friends where if they want to see me, I'm like, here's my link.
Same. Life is too busy. I'm like, you can't just freestyle that in advance. We'll put you in the schedule.
And I think as your life gets busier as an ADHD, you need that sort of crutch that I know I can, every day I look at my calendar and I'm like, cool, this is what's going on for the day. I mean, I have hundreds of other tips and tools, but those are the most important ones. And then probably keep taking your medication, no matter what your mom might say.
Set an alarm and a reminder for that.
Yeah, it is really, really helpful to take your medication because that just gets your brain back to a level playing field where you can actually function like normal.
Thank you. Ikra, do you want to add to the list?
From an undergrad perspective that's currently, on medication and everything, I don't always take my medication. I should, but I hate it. But I need it. But for me, I get stimulated with a lot of like fun looking things at times. So for me, it's like changing every study environment works for me. But then I get too excited and look around. But what study method you used in high school or in first year may not be what works for you now. I didn't know I liked flashcards, and flashcards work better for me, even though it takes up so much time. That's what works for me. But you need to just trial and error, figure out what you like. Also, some days you really won't work. Like, you really won't work some days in undergrad. And I know it sucks, but go to that TUD, like, even if you don't know anything, like, I promise you just go there. Like, you'll be there for attendance at least.
For DP.
For DP. That's what I have. This is, like Mo says, like with lists, lists don't work for me. Like we said, it's different for everyone. Lists don't work for me. I look at it and I'll be like, list, whatever. Like, what has it got on me? But for me, for example, if I leave like chocolate in different parts of my room, I will go find that chocolate and I'll be like, oh, I'm up now. Wow, crazy. So
That's so smart.
Like, or like, for example, if there's biltong, oh my God, I can't leave biltong alone in my room. Like, what do you mean? Like, or like something like sweets in my fridge or something. Like, I can't sleep knowing that there's sweets in my fridge that can be eaten right now. So that will force me to wake up. And then I'll be like, oh, I'm awake. I guess I have to do what I need to do. And there's like, there'll always be one thing that'll make you awake. For me, it's brushing my hair. As crazy as it sounds, like if I brush my hair, I'm suddenly feel like I'm awake. So there's one thing that'll make you want to like start your day. Or it's just like, it's honestly finding your own thing. There's nothing that's gonna help for everyone, I guess. But trial and error.
Trial and error systems. Do you want to add to the list?
Yeah. So I mean, like everything we're talking about now can, like, the formal way to discuss it is as systems. They're management systems that people with ADHD employ for themselves. And interestingly enough, a lot of people develop these systems before they even know that they have ADHD, because you're just doing it to cope, right?
Yes.
So, I mean, like, very similar. Like, I have a reminders list for my day, and every single day, every time, like, I've got a friend thing, I'll, like, put in, okay, I'm doing this, meeting with so-and-so, go to university. I've got all of these things, like, set up. I've got it for gym. I've got everything. Everything has to be in that, like, reminders thing. And then, like, the saved folder on Instagram and TikTok is where things go to die. So if I really think something is important, I'll send it to myself, like Mo said, because like there's like a saved folder of thousands and thousands of videos that, well-intentioned, I want to go look at them one day, but I never will. I've tried to get a diary at the beginning of every year for the last 10 years. I use it for the first month of the year, and then I never touch it again. I've got diary on diary on diary, and it's fine. You know, what works for me actually is just like writing things down every day, and like, you know, mostly working off of my laptop. And then I do like still take notes, and my bag is full of like 1,000 different notebooks with like different things. And every once in a while I'll collate them all, and cool, then I feel organized. But it's just like making these little systems for yourself as you go along. I mean, kind of like what Ikra was saying, there's lots of little things that you can do to kind of get yourself motivated. For me, I've got quite severe financial anxiety, and so one of the things I do is I switch off my geyser. But what that means is that I need to get out of bed to switch on my geyser quite early in the morning, because otherwise I'll have a cold shower. Nothing motivates you more than a warm shower in the morning. So like that gets me out of bed. It's like, no, I need to like switch on my geyser, and then I make a cup of coffee, and then I'm awake, because yeah, otherwise I did have a cold shower this morning, so it doesn't always work, but I mean, that wakes you up very well too. So I don't know, like there's little things that and when I spoke to my psychiatrist, she said to me, well, as I was speaking, she was like, it does sound like you've developed a lot of systems for yourself, like already, and there's lots of resources out there. I can highly, highly recommend a book called How to Keep House While Drowning, written by a mom of 2, and she has ADHD, and it's so accessible, and it's like for people with ADHD, reading is not that easy, as Mo mentioned, but the book will literally say like, oh, the next 2 chapters aren't that important, skip to this chapter. And it's like a chapter will be like a paragraph. They're not very long, and there's so many excellent tips in that book. I mean, I have it as a digital book. There are sources online where you can get it for free, allegedly. So I'll just put that out there. How to Keep House While Drowning. You can put that into Google and just put PDF next to it, and then put it into ebooks. It'll be out there on the internet. Don't tell anyone I told you. But yeah, things like that are excellent, and there's so many resources to make your life easier. And just if something works for you, let it work for you, no matter how silly it may seem. Like if it works, it works, and that's all that matters.
Yeah, and if it doesn't work,
if it doesn't work,
you reevaluate.
If you want to feel like, oh my gosh, like I need to do my dishes every day, that does not work for everybody. Certainly does not work for me. So just be kind to yourself. Also, this is like the main takeaway from that book that I mentioned, but it's helped me so much. Certain tasks, like don't assign moral value to like achieving certain tasks. Basically, if you can't do something, that doesn't mean you're a bad person. So if you can't do your dishes, or if you can't clean your house, or if you can't make it to a lecture, you're not a bad person. So just remove the moral value out of things. That helps so much with that like task paralysis and that guilt and shame that a lot of people with ADHD feel. And it also makes you feel more motivated. Yeah.
Okay.
So that's my answer.
Those are all great answers. So before we close, we're gonna play. It's just very short games, guys. So first we're going to start, it's just 3 games. So the first one is 1 word or 1 sentence. I'm going to read out something and describe it, either given 1 word or 1 sentence. And the second one is finish the statement. Then the last one is fact or myth. So I'm going to read out ADHD statements. Then you tell me whether they're a fact or a myth, and you substantiate your answer. Okay. Cool. Okay, so if you can start with the 1 word or 1 sentence, I'm going to start with Savannah. If you had to sum up the ADHD student experience in 1 sentence, what would you say? 1 sentence, guys.
You're putting me on the spot.
ADHD.
Just eating an elephant 1 bite at a time.
Mo?
Chaotic but enjoyable.
From an undergrad's point, I will say a mess.
Relatable.
A mess.
Chaos.
Okay. I'll start with Mo. In 1 word, how does ADHD make you powerful?
Diversity of interests. That's 3 words.
Okay. Ikra?
Okay, go to Savannah. I'm still thinking about that.
Okay. Savannah, how does ADHD make you powerful?
I love to learn, and I keep a lot of facts in my brain. And when I want to learn about something, boy oh boy do I. There's a lot of good facts up in this noggin over here. If you want a cool fun fact, I'm your girl.
Okay.
I can do something in 5 seconds and in 5 hours, and it's the same thing.
Wait, what?
I think it's so cool. I think it's so cool.
Okay, that's cool. So, finish the statement. Mo, ADHD makes me unique because...
I have the widest breadth of knowledge of anyone I know without having any depth. Meaning, I like to be interested in something for like a day and then I don't actually care about it afterwards. So I know a little about a lot of things.
Okay.
Unfortunately, that's also my answer. There is never an end to me wanting to learn. Like that is literally like my goal in life. It's my passion is knowledge. Like I just want my brain to be full of facts.
And equally, as much as there's like no limit to how much we want to learn, there's also no limit to how much we will forget, which is wonderful.
That's true.
That's a balance.
The cache gets cleared quite regularly. If it's not important, it's going. Yeah.
I think mine was just what I was trying to say is I have a lot of hobbies.
Yeah.
That's
Okay. Cool. I'll start with Savannah. ADHD is not a weakness. It is a...
Yo. I don't know, hey. Because it can be a weakness sometimes. It's just an experience. Something that you live with. It's part of life.
Okay.
You know? Yeah.
ADHD is not a weakness. It's a...
It is something that's not entirely compatible with our modern capitalist way of existence.
As you should, okay.
That's a good...
I was wondering when that would come
One
into
point.
It's not, ADHD is not a weakness. It is just a different way of thinking.
Yeah.
A different way of living.
Yeah.
True. Okay, so the last part of our game, myth or fact. So I'm going to read out a statement, then you tell me whether it's a myth or a fact, and you substantiate your answer. There are some spicy ones, but still good. Okay, I'll start with Mo. ADHD is less common in girls and women.
Statistically, yes, but that's because women and girls are disproportionately underdiagnosed because of the way in which women are socialized to behave and sit still and be polite. And as a result, women and girls often just don't get diagnosed. So I think realistically, it probably appears equally in men and women, but the way that the diagnosis currently works is that women are underdiagnosed.
Yep. Okay. Savannah, people with ADHD cannot focus on anything for long. Myth or fact?
Absolute myth. If I'm interested in something, I will watch a 4-hour YouTube lecture series on the origins of communism in Cuba because I'm interested in it. You asking me to I don't know, sometimes reading an academic paper, a little bit boring, but if I'm interested in it, I will be focusing on it and hyper focusing to the point that it's focused like you've never seen before. So myth.
Okay. Ikra. People with ADHD cannot maintain long-term relationships. Myth or fact?
That's a myth. If I said fact, my boyfriend would be watching. And he'd be like, bro, what? It's a myth because you will find someone that will understand how it presents. But I would say maybe people think it's a fact because as harsh as it sounds, we can't differentiate people from objects when it comes to remembering things and getting bored and maybe people I know people get bored quickly. I mean, as harsh as it sounds, sometimes with family and stuff, I would be really into the one cousin or the one niece or nephew or something, and then after all, I'm bored now. So
not everyone is patient enough.
Yeah, you'll definitely find someone that if you want to be in a long-term relationship, you will find.
There you have it, guys. Mo, ADHD can actually increase passion and intensity in relationships. Myth.
Oh, wow. Blessing. This is the spicy stuff.
Wow.
I would say fact. And my reasoning is classified.
Damn, man.
No, I joke. I think that people with ADHD are driven by novelty and new and interesting experiences. And so I think whenever you're exploring new ways of loving and being, it is going to be exciting, and it's going to make an ADHD person's brain feel all warm and fuzzy because you're getting dopamine out of it. And so I don't know what the data are like, but I can say personally, I think that ADHD people are generally more drawn towards kinky things.
Okay. Okay, let's put a full stop there. Keeping PG, guys. Okay, cool. Wasn't expecting that answer, but yeah, it's okay. Okay, maybe let's deviate from kinky stuff. ADHD is caused by too much sugar or screen time. Myth or fact?
If you believe that, I need to go and get my psychological assessment kit, and you need an intelligence test right.
Myth.
Why?
I played outside as a child. I wasn't an iPad kid. He's 10 years older, like he's a millennial. He has ADHD. My mom is old. She has ADHD, undiagnosed, shame. But, no, you can never eat sugar in your life. You can never look at a screen and still have ADHD.
Something you're born with.
It's, sorry, I didn't mean to call you out.
I just
You
got
did,
called
eh?
old, yeah.
I love you.
It's one of those Kevin Hart moments.
I'm so sorry.
And me, I'm 56 years old. Damn.
I'm sorry. Because it was a thought. No, seriously, it was a thought. It was a thought, and I blurted it out.
Maybe what I'll add to that is it doesn't cause ADHD, but it sure as hell can make it so much worse.
I think
So screen time, for me personally, right? Screen time and sugar are like really terrible things in my life.
seeking systems in the same way that it's like, like anything, caffeine, nicotine, other addictions, like it just, people with ADHD will be drawn to quick, instant gratification. Anything that delivers that's what people with ADHD will be drawn to. So it doesn't cause it, but it does enable the symptoms, maybe. That's a way to say it.
Okay, cool. Well, there you have it, guys. There's a lot of myths about ADHD out there, and I hope we've demystified most of them. But I would say one takeaway from our guest is that ADHD is not a barrier to success. It's just a different way of experiencing and engaging with the world. So, thank you so much. That is it from today's episode. I hope you enjoyed the video. Don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. And most importantly, to share the link with someone who might like this video. Until next time, stay tuned and stay blessed.
Thank you.
Yay!